guys. Story time. Hey, tonight we're going to have a good one tonight. We got a conversation for you with Brian. It's Brian's time to shine. Yes, it is. I've been waiting for a long time, gotta do it. And won't let nothing hold me down. Hey, how you doing, young lady? Thank you for joining us. Because I may not get another chance. Welcome to Story Time. Welcome to Story Time. If you've never been to Story Time before, it is time for somebody to shine. Y'all come on in the room, come on in the room, come on in the room. Hey Queen on the Rolling Stone, I ain't seen you in a while. Where you been? I ain't seen you before either. I think it's a couple of people out here on live. Let me cut this music on. How y'all doing tonight? I think it's a couple people on here. B-Hop sent me a request, okay? And you have to tell me your daughter's name so I can look for her. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is another episode of Story Time. I'm trying to get to the name here. And we want to just come to you today. You know, we had another guest that was going to be on today. All of our guests have a story. Everybody has something they want to share. And we have Mr. Brian tonight. And Brian has a special addition. He has someone else. And you have to let me know her name so I can make sure I pull her in. And when I see her, you let me know when you see her, Brian. But okay. Tonight, we wanted to let you shine, Brian, because I'm going to tell you something. For those of you who've never been here before, my name is Crystal Bodie Smith, and this is Brian. Do people know your full name? Because I don't want to give it if you don't like to give it out. But this.
Well, I mean, my Instagram name is a combination of my name. Okay. It's B-Hop.
Okay.
Some people will know me as Brian. Okay. Most people know me as B-Hop.
Okay. So this is B-Hop, y'all, and let me tell you why I wanted him to shine tonight, because he has been giving us a lot of wisdom out here. He has been coming to us and really blessing.
That's my daughter right there, Miss DV's.
Okay, Miss DV's. I want her to send me a request. Tell her to make sure she's following me. MS, is it MS or Miss MZ?
Yeah, MIZZ.
MIZZ.
DEEV.
Okay, I see. Yeah. I got it.
Hey, Dawn.
I said, so here's what I wanted to do. I saw a live that you and your daughter had done. And, hey, young lady, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Looking like your dad. What's your name?
Brianna.
Brianna. Wow, y'all favor. Is this your only daughter, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
My one and only miracle.
Wow. Well, listen, guys, you know, we do a thing called story time. So before we do it, I want you to introduce yourself. And Brian, I wanted you to share some of your insight that you have on many areas as a certified, coach on many topics. And, people just have a hard time making a lot of decisions. And I know that you guys had done a topic out here about parenting and intergenerational relationship between parents. And that seemed to be a really, really great topic. So after we do the introduction, I would love to ask you about that. But first, Brian, tell us a little bit about who you are and who this young lady is next to you.
Well, my name is Brian Hopkins. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. I've been in law enforcement. I was in communications. I've been on all different levels of law enforcement, policing, corrections, warrant unit. And now I'm a Pennsylvania state agent. And what I do now is I'm a certified instructor for law enforcement. That means that I teach civilian and law enforcement personnel. I do ladies self-defense. I do senior self-defense. I do a mentor program with single mothers and daughters. I do life coaching, mentoring, and stuff like that.
I had a young man on that was on last week, karate instructor, who also talked about self-defense and how it was such a need that ladies needed to have that. So I definitely want to ask you a question about that. Brianna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am Brian's daughter. I'm from Philadelphia. I manage dental offices. What else? Dad, what else? I'm 30 years old.
Yes, you're a mother
I am a mother. I'm a
and a wife.
wife.
I want you to highlight how long you've been married.
I have been married for going on 9 years this year.
Nice.
And together for 11 years.
Excellent. And I can understand why you would want her to highlight that because a lot of marriages don't last. And so you being 30 years old and married 9, you got married pretty young.
I got married at 21. I was a couple of weeks shy of my 22nd birthday.
Wow, was this your first high school sweetheart or your first love, so to speak?
I wouldn't say my first love. So Devin, who is my husband, grew up in the same neighborhood that I did. So I met him. I probably was about 12 and he was 13. So we grew up together and we didn't start dating until I was 19, turning 20. He was already 21. And we already knew each other. So dating each other wasn't really that big of a step. And then we got married on our 2-year anniversary, which is November 8th.
Wow, excellent. And B Hop, I'm sure they had your blessings. I know you gave them the blessing. That's your only daughter, so I know he had to get past you.
Well, her husband is my son. So the way I look at everything is this. He brings a wealth of information and he brings a nuance to our family because he comes from a large family. We have a dwindling family in reference to the amount of people that are left in my immediate family. So it's refreshing to know that my granddaughter has a very large family on the other side. That way, she gets the true essence of what a large family truly looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good because, a lot of people today in 2022, they don't get to feel that family experience, Like, you remember that movie Soul Food that was on TV? Where they got together and they sat around and they ate at the table and they fellowship and all the kids came together. People don't do that much. Do you find that to be true in your everyday coaching with people? Do you find that a lot of people are coming from broken homes?
I find it, the major part of it, I find a balance. Now, in our family, unfortunately, when my mother passed away, that kind of like separated the real glue that kept the larger aspect of my family together. Because my mother was a very integral part into everybody having one place to connect. When she passed away, and then my grandmother passed away 4 months after her, it changed the dynamic of the matriarchal aspect of the family. So, when it comes down to it, you just roll with the flow and you create a new normal. But what I find in society is that, one, I teach my daughter this and I always subscribe to this, is that I don't believe in stereotypical norms. I don't invest too much energy into it because seems like every time we invest that type of energy into it, it's a negative output. See, my thing is this, black families are still very much intact. The problem is that what we have to do in a lot of senses is stop highlighting our negativity so we can get back to the true positives of who we truly are as black people. But I find that in society, the major focus is balance. And yes, when I talk to people, I talk to people that have various sizes of families. And what they tell me all the time is that either their family is with them, against them, supporting or unsupportive, but nonetheless, the family is still around.
So, do you believe that the success of people today out here in society as an entrepreneur or just as a citizen has a lot to do with their upbringing and the type of family that they were raised in?
Yeah, well, what it comes down to is this. Your net worth is directly connected to your network, whether it be internal family, external family, job family, professional family. All of those things are going to give you an indication. But the real success comes at What are you willing to do for yourself that's different than what you're currently or have been doing to put you on a different plateau? I was telling my daughter, how many times have I told you, Brianna, you are too good at what you do to always build somebody else's dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to her to define when that time comes that she's going to go out there, create her LLC, put her product out there, and allow someone else to buy into your program. I did that almost 16 years ago
Wow.
in law enforcement. So the reality of it is when I got tired of stupid advisors, I got tired of people that didn't know the product as well as me telling me what to do and how to do it. So therefore, instead of getting upset about it, the only way you can change your condition is to change your mindset on where it puts you in that condition. I didn't complain about it. Brianna, I tell you, I've been through some hard times working for myself. There were times I didn't have two nickels to rub together. There were times that, it got to a point where I thought I was going to lose everything that I worked hard to build. But you know what happens? Perseverance and faith and your spirituality is truly intact. You just plug along until your next blessing comes.
Wow. Now, so you have been inspiring your daughter to become an entrepreneur. How do you feel about that, Brianna? Are you excited? Are you fearful? Or is it something that you want to do? Or what is your thoughts about that?
Um, I respect entrepreneurship. I feel like right now it's not something that I can pursue simply because you have to be able to be homeless, you have to be able to be broke, and I can't. I have a child. Um, so it's something that eventually, yes, I do want to own my own businesses, but that's something that's going to have to come after I build up a little bit of capital. It's going to take me a little bit longer because she has no say. I am her safety net. We're her parents, so we can't just make decisions solely based on what we want to do because that will affect her. And the last thing I'm going to do is negatively affect my child if I have any control over it. So it's something that I will always think about. It's something that I haven't, completely ruled out, but that changed when she was born. Actually, it changed when I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
My entire outlook on life changed when I got pregnant.
Excellent, excellent. Because you know
Yeah.
what, a lot of people, a lot of young parents today, they don't take it that seriously.
Mm.
And I love the relationship that I see that you and your dad have. Y'all communicate well. I see you have a lot of respect for him. I see that you don't mind being in his presence. Some children don't even want to be around their parents.
Because I
What do
don't
you
like them.
think? What do you think helped you to have this relationship between the two? Is it communication or what is it? Because you probably can really help some people that may be watching that don't have what you two have.
So, to be honest, this is kind of just an organic thing. Yes, communication does have a lot to do with it, but I would say growing up, my dad always gave me a space to be me and to voice my opinion, no matter how loud, no matter how brash, no matter how it came off, no matter if it was the right thing to say or what would be disrespectful. He always allowed me space to kind of vent and let it out without judgment. And I think that is the biggest thing, is that I was never judged. I knew that I could tell him something that would be so totally out of my character. And yes, he may not like it, but he would never yell. He would never say, "Oh, you did that. You shouldn't have done that." It was always, okay, well, why did you do that?
Mm. Wow.
Well, you got to have a reason why you did
That's
that.
right. That's right.
I think it was never condemning me,
Mm.
more so, okay, well, that's not really in your character, so why would you do that? Like, what's going on? Like, is something wrong? Just trying to get to the root of the problem. And that just breeds a level of trust, a level of friendship. Like, I don't understand when people say that they're not their kids' friends. I don't get it. I always say that my daughter is my little broke best friend. I mean, you have to have a level of friendship with your child in order to understand them, in order to relate to them and help them through different things, because they're growing up in a different time than you are. You know, when he was 15 versus when I was 15, two totally different times. So if he's not listening to me and only going based off of what happened back in the 80s, then you're not helping me for the early 2000s. So you have to be able to listen
Yeah,
and
listening
adapt.
is good. Yes, I agree with that. But you said you think that parents and their children should be friends. Now,
To a
Brian, let's talk
degree,
about that a minute.
absolutely.
To a degree, that started at a certain age? Because some parents get a little carried away with being friends with their children, and they out there doing things with their children, and then they wonder why they don't respect them. They out there drinking with them and smoking with them and partying with them.
Well, that Crystal. That's because they go to an extreme. I've always taught my daughter how to live in the middle. That's because that's where life functions, in the middle. When you do anything to an extreme, there's a potentiality of chaos because life is not lived in an extreme. Parents, my daughter has always been my friend. I just didn't let her know to what degree she was my friend until she showed me responsibility. Once she showed me responsibility, along the way, I adjusted my friendship and how I communicated with her until she was a grown woman. And now there's no holds barred. We can talk about anything, be about anything, and I can appreciate you for the woman that you've become because I'm no longer looking at you as a little girl. The thing is that balance in all life structures have to be one of those things where you have a clue as into what you're looking for. It's not about any of those other things. When it comes to your child, you have to understand that if I didn't teach her, somebody else would have. And what it comes down to is I don't want the streets to raise my child. The one thing about my daughter is this. I never pressured her about sex. I never told her it was bad. I never told her none of the above. You know what I said? You were born with something. You better learn how to use it. And every time you decide that you want to use it for pleasure, for whatever you choose to, don't get up with your head down. Get up and walk away from the situation knowing that you made the choice, because that's power. I told her before, in any situation, you being born a girl does not make you a victim at any point in your life. Victimization comes with situations, not with gender. So therefore, if it comes with situations, let's take this gender thing out of it, because you are empowered to do whatever you choose to do. And for so many years, she's been doing all that's been asked of her. From the time she was in grade school to high school, she did everything that my mother, myself, and anybody expected or asked of her, and did it with flying colors. That's why my friendship with her can be on the highest level, because she's always shown me that her head is on as straight as it can possibly be. So I didn't have to worry about it.
So for those parents out there who didn't quite go about it this way, they went a little too far, how do they correct that problem? There's some parents out there who need to correct the situation. They now do not have the respect of their children, and they don't know how to communicate with them. And what do you suggest? I mean, you can tell me too. I heard you get ready to say something, Brianna. What were you going to say?
Apologize.
Mm.
Before you do anything, the first step to healing is acknowledgement. People want to feel acknowledged. People want to feel like, oh, you know that you did hurt me, that you didn't listen to me. You're acknowledging that hurt, and you apologize for it. You can't go back in time, but you can atone for certain things. And you start by simply saying, I'm sorry.
So the children will receive that. Some children.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
that's good.
From a parent standpoint, is this.
Apology.
Humility is the better part of understanding that when you want to change your behavior, you have to be humble first. So the thing of it is this. There's a lot of parents out here that didn't get a book in terms of how to raise their kid.
Yes.
So if you winged it and you just did something wrong, it's okay. We're human. But the thing is don't be stuck on stupid. Always understand and know that you're raising another human being. You're not raising a puppet. You're not raising somebody that you got to keep pulling their strings. From the time that they can talk, they're going to be them. You have to appreciate that in your child. But the one thing a lot of parents, unfortunately, are not doing is they're not studying their children. So you can maintain a child. Everybody that has possession of their child is not raising them. So the problem is that when you maintain a child, some other stimulus is maintaining them and not giving them any meaning. Meaning is when you can create memories. Meaning is when you can go back to a time and a space and you and your child can connect. It's just like being in a relationship. If you and your significant other ride over the Chesapeake Bridge and you remember when you went to Phillips Seafood House, that's the same thing with your child. You got to have meaningful memories in reference to what you've done with them.
Core memories.
Core memories. But now some people, like you said, they're bruised. They're hurt. And some people are not willing to go the extra mile. And the sad thing is there are people who go get it from somewhere else. They go find someone else to, give them that advice and help them because they don't get it at home. There's a lot of children that don't get it at home. So I appreciate you for saying that. Now, you also said something. You said he doesn't judge you. There are so many parents who judge their children and they impart their own, desires, their own wishes and what they feel as though they should do, especially after they get a certain age. They don't acknowledge that they are grown and they have the right to make their own decision. Talk about that part. How do you help a parent that just don't know how to let go and let the child think for themselves?
Well, what it comes down to is judgment has a lot to do with your moral fabric, right? See, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. My daughter and myself were brought up in a Catholic faith, right? And we only did that because my mother was very determined that we were going to get the best education. So my mother assisted me with my daughter in reference to her getting the same quality of education that I got. But the one thing that my mother always told me is be an independent thinker. Always understand and know that you're going to come up with whatever you come up with based on your history. And the one thing that I told Brianna early on in her life is be critical of things, listen to it, but dissect it nonetheless based on your logic, based on your emotion. And the one thing about a lot of these parents is this: you cannot put your moral fabric on your child. You can only give them life lessons and let them develop their own moral fabric. And if you don't like it, the best thing you can do is just keep advising and hopefully that they'll come to a different conclusion. But other than that, you have no control over that. Go ahead, Britt.
I would say morality is also subjective. What one person deems morally correct or incorrect is another opposite to another person. So the thing with that is you also have to understand that you've lived a whole life before this kid was even born. So I feel like parents get selective amnesia. Like as soon as they have a kid, it's like they totally forgot about all the terrible things that they did. And now all of a sudden it's hypocritical. It's like somebody has to remind you, like, you don't remember when you did X, Y, and Z? Well, I do. I know that I'm not a perfect person, and I don't want my daughter to be perfect. I don't. We were having issues. She had like an issue at school, and we were saying like, we want you to try to be good every day. And I wanted to emphasize to her, try, because to be good every day is unrealistic. I'm not good every day. I have bad days all the time. I'm an adult, so I'm allowed to throw a tantrum, but she's 3, so she's not. So yes, that has to be within reason, but I don't expect her to be good every day. She's a human.
Yes.
And if she's having a bad day, then let's talk about it. Or maybe you just need a snack. Maybe you just need to go to bed. Maybe you're just tired, but she's allowed to have a bad day. We're not.
And I'm glad you said
unrealistic expectations on the kids. No.
I'm glad you said that you talk about it, even with a 3-year-old. Like, they are smarter than people think. Like these
Oh,
children are really
God, yeah.
smart. You know. Now, D-Hop, let me ask you this question because you talked about you do a lot of mentoring in a lot of different areas, and one of the things you said is you deal with a lot of men and women, and you said that I know you're in law enforcement, right?
Yes.
Being in law enforcement, what is one of the main things that you see that's an issue in 2022 that many people are dealing with that could probably be avoided?
Well, one of the major issues, and I had one tonight, is patience.
Mm.
People allow outside frustrations to limit their patience. And what happens is they make snap judgments, and then they want to have a recollection of that when they're locked up or when they have no more voice, when they're dead. And the problem is that just like I dealt with tonight, I dealt with a guy that knew he was wrong. He was wrong as two left shoes. And to call him on that, he was arguing about him being wrong.
Wow.
And I said, listen, brother, I said, I would appreciate you not insulting my intelligence in reference to you being wrong. And just admit that you were wrong. That way you can make the necessary adjustment so you don't make the same mistake twice. And then when I said that to him, he looked at me like I had 6 heads. And then I had to say it again. Brother man, you're a black man in society. You're going to make mistakes based on your PTSD. There's going to be times when you're not going to have the full story. You're going to react to half a story. I understand that because I'm a black man also. But it does not excuse your behavior. It does not excuse the fact that you did something wrong. So now understand, every adult can choose whatever they want to choose, but there are repercussions that come with your choices. And that's why what happens in 2022 right now is people are jumping and flying off the handle without taking into consideration that there is going to be some repercussions for that, one way or the other. It might be delayed. It doesn't have to be an immediate repercussion. And I've seen that because I was involved in a shooting the day before. And the thing of it is this, being involved in it and watching that man dead behind his steering wheel. And what it came down to was an argument, a road rage argument that happened on about 3 different blocks with 3 different cars. So you got 3 people shot. One person is dead behind his steering wheel. Another young lady is shot. And another man is shot in another car down the street. So when it all comes down to it, it's this. Whatever stresses that we're going through in life, it's bad communication, it's lack of patience, and it's a rush to judgment.
Wow.
It's a lot of that going on.
Can I ask you a question? You know what? Road rage seems to be on the rise. I had a young lady that I do Zumba with. They just had her funeral last week, and it was really sad. I mean, she was a cancer survivor, 53 years old, beat cancer, and then messed around and went to a drugstore, and some 35-year-old took her life over a parking space or something. It's like unbelievable. I mean, what is that? I mean, are y'all seeing an extremely high increase in road rage nationwide?
No, it's not extreme. What you have to understand about society is going to play by the rules more than it is not going to play by the rules. You have to look at it as this. Violence is going to happen because that is the nature of a human. Look at man's inhumanity to man is something that's going to be with us for the end of time, because there's always a situation that's going to get the better of your judgment. So when we look at these things, we can't look at them as a majority. We have to look at them in the context in which they happen. Because if you look at the same day, there are millions of people that got up, went and did what they were going to do, and they came home with no problem. Unfortunately, that one young lady, did not have that choice that day. So we can't make it seem like that one lady represents tens of thousands of people. So we always got to be balanced in our understanding of what we want to highlight, because there's always an accentuation on the negative.
Yeah, it is. I was just wondering because I know that you're in that area, and I mean, I don't pay attention. I don't want to look at the news because it's so negative. There's too much going on, negativity, and a lot of stuff don't even make the news. Um, I always say that a lot of times a lot of people deal with stuff because of the bad habits they have, or because they just don't really focus on what they want to do. They don't make a decisive action. In your experience as a coach, what has been one of the things that you recognize that people need to work on most to be successful and to avoid all these pitfalls that they're falling into for different reasons?
What I'm learning is this. I'm learning that we cannot assume that people's comprehension is on the level of what they're putting out.
Wow.
You got a lot of people that don't comprehend well. You can give them the best advice. You can give them everything under the sun. But if they're not comprehending the information, then it's basically, I got to find another way to get through to you. And what
I have
I'm
to
what
put the
I'm
baby to
learning,
bed.
Okay,
huh?
baby. Yeah, go ahead. I'm so glad
Bye.
I got a chance to meet you. Go ahead and put the baby girl to bed. We won't keep you
Okay.
tonight. I'm so happy to have met you. Appreciate you coming in and
Thank you.
speaking with your daddy. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, baby, love you.
Love you. Bye.
So that's deep. Where did B Hop go? B Hop, did you know that you fell off too? Did you realize that you fell off, B Hop? I see, that's real deep. That's real deep. People don't comprehend. That's deep. People don't comprehend. So people act like they understand. They're carrying on a conversation with you, but they really not there. So, wow.
Right. In my teaching, right, I do a ladies self-defense class, but I also teach senior self-defense, right? And in my teaching with my law enforcement guys or my civilian people, I always get them to recite back to me what it is or the portion of what we went over. And when I do that in my life coaching or my mentorship, I do that for the perspectives of them understanding, what did I just say to you?
Right.
What did you get? What meaning
Right.
did you get out of what we just communicated? And a lot of times what I find is that they get it twisted. And the reason why they get it twisted is because they were either not listening or their comprehension skills are not up to par. We expect that adults are supposed to read on an adult level. It's the same thing with comprehension. We expect that when we engage an adult, that their comprehension level is supposed to be on the level of ours or superior. But the problem is we can't assume anything. This is why in my mentor programming or the mentor understanding of things, it's one of those things where you have to take into consideration who it is that you're talking to and what their capabilities are. You can't help somebody if you keep talking over their head.
That's the truth.
So you got to really know, and this is why I always say, know your product. If my product is to give you suggestions to assist you in your deepest, darkest moments, I cannot talk at you. I have to find a way to talk with you. And that is the biggest aspect of all of it, is speaking with someone when you realize and understand that they're not on par with their comprehension.
And
Now
so,
it's on the mentor.
yes. So perception is the responsibility of the person communicating to get their point across, and if they're not understood, it's up to them to pick up on it. If the person doesn't respond appropriately, like you said, you're going to ask them a question, well, what do you think I just said? Or what did you get from what I said? But a lot of people don't do that, B-Hop. They just keep going. Like teachers do
Right.
that. Teachers do that in these classes with our kids. They just keep teaching. And the children don't stop and ask questions. Well, adults do that. People do that every day on the job. People do that in relationships. So how do we stop that? How do we catch that? Like how if we were in a business situation and we're trying to train our employees or our entrepreneurs or something, how do we change that? How do we teach people to communicate better or to just ask questions if they don't understand without thinking they're going to be looked upon less?
I'm going to throw you a curve. People need to stop calling themselves a guru. People need to stop paying all of this homage to expert. Those terms are going to set you up for failure. Because no matter how long you've been in any business, you're no expert. Because an expert is a person who particularly really never makes mistakes. So I know people that can shoot, a quarter from 25 yards away. But I know that they can't do that every single day they pick up a gun. So the one thing that you have to understand as a human is that when you're dealing in a human existence, there's times when you're going to come up short, even as the person that has all the information. And the thing is that when we look at how do we change things, we got to have positive information reinforcement. Positive information reinforcement, meaning that when we start to give suggestions and we start to give a lot of information, I used to tell my mother all the time, Mom, you're giving me too much information. You're giving me too much. Like, it's not even cutting to the chase in reference to what you want me to do. And you get lost in a lot of the translation because some people just really want you to get straight to the point. They don't need all the fluff. But you won't, that's right. You won't know that unless you know your product. If you're a mentor, any mentee is your product. You have to sit down and understand what their capabilities are before you start advising. Let's be real about it. Let's understand that you're dealing with somebody who on that particular day might have a shortcoming that you never seen in the other 5 sessions that you had with them. And it's perception. We as the people with the information, same thing with teachers, instructors, anybody that's adding value to another person's equation. It's incumbent on you to measure yourself, to measure that exchange. Because the person that's on the other side is just there to be a sponge. Stop making them a cleaning tool. They just want to be a sponge. They just want to absorb. But if you use them to clean up the floor and to wipe things down, then how can they just absorb the information?
That's good. And people be just talking. They just be spitting it all out. That's definitely true. Let me ask you something. Out of all the things that you do, which one do you really feel the most passionate about?
The assistance that I give people in general life. I'm passionate about all things that I do because that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it. When I teach my law enforcement guys, my passion is no less than when I'm teaching somebody or when I'm mentoring a single mother and her child. See, because what it comes down to is this. If I have the power of communication and God gives me the ability to have you listen to me without talking, then he's given me a gift that very few people have. And it's incumbent on me to utilize that gift to the fullest value because God speaks through people. And if I'm a vessel that he's using to speak through, I want to be the best vessel I can be out here. That's what keeps my passion strong. That's what keeps me on these Instagram lives. That's what keeps me adding value as much as I can. That's, in my Masonic journey, talking to other brothers and helping them stay sharp. All of those things that make me me, I take it very seriously into heart.
What do you think about this Instagram and the way everybody's out here with all these conversations, all these lives, and everybody? You think all this came about because of the pandemic, or you think it's something else going on? I mean,
well, it's a combination. It's a combination of electronic growth. Yes, it was born out of a need, yes. And it just caught on because it's another way of communicating. It's another way of networking. See, you can take a live. A live has no meaning until people get on it. So you can't blame alive. You can't even put that into any existence because it's dormant without people.
Right.
It doesn't get away from the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go on live, and you go on some lives and it's very constructive, they're talking about positive things. They're talking about growth, development, personal development, financial awareness, wealth. And then you go on other lives and it's nothing but a bunch of bickering. Then you go on other lives and it's a sexual exchange. That is the congruence of life. That is the whole aspect of life. When people say, "Oh, well, you know, they over there degrading black women," and okay, society degrades black women too. But the reality of it is that if you're going to complain about it, what are you doing in the space that you can control? Because you can't control every space. So if you're going to complain about it, you can either hit the X button, not go on it, or if you choose to go on it, expect the repercussions because you're different from the environment that you placed yourself in.
Yeah. Now, B-Hop, I heard you talk a couple of times about what you do for the single mothers and the children. What's that program about? I know you said that's really something you do that you were contracted to do, but you also do that yourself as well.
Right. It's single mothers and daughters. What it comes down to is this. There's a lot of misconception that men have no added value to a woman's issues or women's issues when it comes to mothering and other things. But the one thing that we have to understand and know is that when you have a balanced approach to things, the value comes in that balance. And what I do is this. I can assess a situation without being physically or emotionally involved based on old traumas of being a woman. The thing is this. I'm looking at a woman's trauma and what she's doing with her daughter, and I'm able to pinpoint it a little better because guess what? I don't have to worry about looking into my past history and see if I'm exhibiting the same trauma. And a lot of times what happens, and it wasn't really by a fluke, but it was just on a happenstance that the pastor's wife invited me to just come speak. And it went from a speaking engagement to, can you be a part of the organizational model and see what we can come up with? Well, the first year, I was able to get through to some of the hardest cases that they've had in that church in terms of the mother-daughter, reactions. And the one young lady sent me a 3-page letter in reference to my interaction with her because her father would never talk to her the same way that I had conversed with her and was never able to get any real answers from a male perspective. And when I was able to get through to her, her mother responded in the sense of understanding that, yes, I've been walking around with a lot of pain that I did not know I was putting on my daughter. All I wanted to do was have her not go through the things that I went through. Well, based on that model, she went through the same things that you went through. You just didn't know because she wasn't going to tell you.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Wow. And you said something powerful there. A lot of parents pass on the pain, man. A lot of parents pass on the pain advertently and inadvertently.
Yes, it's called passive or aggressive. Because we're human. And if hurt people, right? Then
Right.
it doesn't change what the dynamic of the relationship is. And it's more egregious when a mother is telling a daughter not to do something that the mother, like my daughter said. Don't be hypocritical with your
Like,
child.
you did it. That's right. That's right.
Don't be hypocritical. Just give them an understanding that when they choose that way of doing something,
Yes.
these are the repercussions.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
You can't forget when you were a girl. You can't forget when you were a girl. But you cannot tell your girl that she's supposed to just forget that she's a girl and you're supposed to just do everything on this level now that you're on the other side of it. Well, how did you get on the other side of it other than time? Did you create some healing? And if you can't say you created some healing, then the only thing that did that was put it on a back burner so you can get through with time.
Well, I think sometimes parents now overreact because of look at how it is in the world today. So you want to be overprotective. You know, you don't want to see your child go through what you went
That's
through.
not good. That's
Right.
not good, Crystal. Think about it. What is the optimum word that you just said? Over.
Overprotect. Yep. Over.
That's an extreme, right?
Yeah.
Didn't I just say we got to live in the middle?
Yeah.
Protective is one thing.
Hmm.
Overprotective is inefficient, ineffective, and it's just downright wrong.
Hmm. And
Because
it
now
causes division in the relationship.
you're showing your child that you don't even have self-control.
Hmm.
How you gonna ask them
Hmm.
to have self-control?
Hmm. It
You want
causes
to know why
division
my child is balanced? My
because you
child is
balance.
balanced because I never dragged her in an extreme and kept her there for any length of time than needed be. When she came home crying to me, I would always say, "Listen, baby, I can't understand crying. I don't do crying." My mother used to jump in my ass all the time. Let her cry. Let her cry. She can cry, but she can't talk to me. I'm a man, Mom. I'm not a woman. I'm not going to do things as a woman. I'm her father. I was a single parent. I'm her father. I can never be her mother, never wanted to be. And these women out here need to understand that same thing. You're not doing both roles. You are not. You're not equipped to do both roles.
But
Stop
they
looking for
try.
a card on Father's Day. Be the best mother that you can be, because that is a fulfilling responsibility more than anybody will ever understand. Don't ever think that you can be a man and teach your daughter, because guess what? You don't even hug her like any man will hug her. You don't even talk to her. Your voice isn't as deep as a
Right.
man's voice would be.
Right. Right.
So the thing of it is to have that misconception walking around, oh, I pay all the bills and this, I do this. Well, first of all, stop looking for a pat on the back. Any responsible person has to pay their bills.
That's right.
You get up, you turn the electric on, you got to pay it, right?
That's right.
You got somebody living in your house that you're taking care of, you got to pay it. So stop looking for all this pat on the back stuff.
So you think a lot of women assume too much of their masculinity in
I
in
don't
the
say a lot of I don't
absence.
say a lot of anything. What I say is there are some
Some.
women out here
Some.
that
Some.
there's women out here. I'm not even gonna give it a number. There's women out here that have been forced to think that fake masculinity that they're doing
Right.
means something. It
Right.
doesn't mean anything,
Right.
because you know what? You can get the same job done more finessefully in
Right.
your femininity.
Right. You know
I
why
ain't
I
never seen. My mother was an executive for the telephone company. She ain't never come home and think because she wore a pantsuit today that she was some man in the boardroom. She knew she was a black woman in corporate America. She knew it because they never let her forget it. But you know what she did? She understood how to use her femininity and be smarter than the average person in that room. And you know what? She did 30 years at the telephone company, retired at 50 years old. And she was 23 years into her retirement when she passed away.
and guess what? You said something real powerful. Women don't realize how powerful they are. You know, a lot of times they don't realize if they just stay in their femininity, they can get so much more done.
Well, they scared of their femininity, Crystal. They scared because they think it's weakness. Femininity has never been weakness. Look at our history from our ancestors. We had women that controlled wars. We had women that controlled armies. The problem is that when you get away from the true aspect of what femininity means, then you go with what society says. Society says your
Right.
femininity makes you a victim. This
Right.
is why I do lady self-defense. Because guess what? You were born with your body parts. You're going to die with them. Guess what? Don't ever let that be a determining factor of whether you succeed in life.
So when you teach self-defense mentally, what message do you give the ladies? I mean, do you teach it from a physical standpoint, or do you educate them also on some do's and don'ts mentally, or how
I
to?
give them, listen, my class is a full spectrum on the art of giving yourself space, because I don't teach women how to fight. I teach you how to give yourself the time necessary to get to safety or to gather help in a heated situation. but also I do an educational program. And this is crazy because a lot of people say, how do you do that? I put them in situations and scenarios that they have to sit in a court of law and explain what it is and why they did what they did. You know why? Because there's no law enforcement that's going to be your friend. If your husband starts whipping your ass in your house and you feel as though his anger is going to extinguish your life and you shoot your husband, every cop that comes in your house at that point is going to make you seem like you was just a jaded woman that just didn't like the fact that, oh, he might have been cheating on you or whatever the case may be. They are not your friends. I'm in law enforcement. I know. The district attorney is not your friend. They're going to make you seem like you shouldn't have never had a gun. You shouldn't have never been in that situation. You shouldn't have did this. You shouldn't have did that. There's no reason why you should ever be a victim in your house or in your personal space. So when I do my comprehensive teaching, I teach you how to adjudicate yourself. You know why? Because law language is a whole different way of explaining things. It's not emotional and it's not logical.
So for those who don't know what adjudicate is, break that down to somebody who might be watching, who might need to get away. They might need to get out. They don't know how. What would be the first step?
Well, adjudication is what happens after the deed is done. So they always want to see, first of all, when a cop does what they do, right, they say, I fear for my life. They don't really have to have any real concept of imminent danger. For a civilian, you have to unequivocally, you have to prove that your life was in imminent danger at the time that you took action. That is something totally different. And that in and of itself, when it comes to adjudication, and adjudication just means when you have to sit in a court of law and explain to a third party what it is and the reason why, you have to understand and know that the powers that be in that court of law is not going to give you the benefit of the doubt in most times and in most cases.
Wow. So what's step number one? If you were to do a mini class right now on this live, and you were going to help some women to protect themselves, and you had to tell them three steps, what would you tell them to do?
All right, Crystal, you're gonna be my student. Crystal, what does self-defense mean to you?
Protecting myself.
I don't want to hear that. What does self-defense mean to you?
Keeping myself alive.
Okay. You got to have a deeper meaning than that. Come on, give it to me. This is how I do my class. You know why? Because I don't want the superficial stuff. I don't want the fluff. I want you to understand and know that your life means something. I want you to know that without you, somebody is going to be missing some valuable things in their existence. Give it to me again. What does self-defense mean to you, Crystal?
Yeah, I mean, keeping myself alive so I can continue my legacy, be here for my children, my grandchildren.
You see how your answer was so much different now? You see how you really dug deep into the understanding that your life is not just your life, that it has some intrinsic value and it has overflow on other people's existences.
Right.
That the fact that you facilitate other people are going to be missing the information that you have and the new people that you bring on to highlight what they have to offer. You got to understand that when you get into this, you got to get into it with both feet. You got to get into it understanding and knowing that, listen, I am standing tall for the legacy of me.
That's right.
That's what I'm doing.
That's right. That's right.
You see why I'm very adamant about how I teach? And the thing of it is this. It's called positive information reinforcement. That's right. It's like this. I'm not giving them confidence. I'm pulling the confidence out of them.
Right. And making them recognize their worth, their valuable life, you know.
You know how many women I deal with that never been punched, that never been slapped? You got a lot of women out here that have spent their whole life never having a schoolyard fight.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna bring some hostility to them in their older years. What do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna panic.
Yeah.
Panic is an absence of a plan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you panic, that means that you had no forethought of any danger that could have possibly been bestowed upon you. This is
Yeah.
why it's very necessary. And it's not from, I don't teach from a martial arts standpoint.
No.
I don't do that. Because if you want to do martial arts, go to a martial arts class. My self-defense class, I tell them in the beginning, I am not going to teach you how to stand here and fight. I'm going to teach you how to save your existence for a short amount of time so you can get help, so you
So,
can understand, create separation, all of those things that are necessary for you to save your life.
so you basically trying to also show them how to be more aware, to pay attention to their surroundings, be aware, think things through, notice the red flags. I mean, just all those things, be alert.
Yes. Well, first of all, it's like this. How many women carry a wallet full of everything?
Yeah, stop taking the unnecessary stuff out the house that you don't need.
Learn how, when you go into unfamiliar areas, learn how to decrease the amount of stuff that you carry. Carry what's necessary. Put it in spaces and places that are not readily accessible. Carry dummy bags. If you carry a fanny pack, don't carry nothing in it that can be misconstrued. Keep your money in different places. You got boobs for a reason.
Yeah.
So the reality of it is this. For my ladies that carry firearms, I show them different ways that you can carry a firearm as a woman with a dress on, and nobody will ever know you had a gun on you.
Nice. Nice.
So the reality of it is coming to an understanding that when I have options, I have solutions also.
That's really good, showing them how to not to be so.
Of course, I give them a whole list, laundry list. You know, a woman wears a garter belt when she's getting married, right?
Yes.
They got garter belt holsters.
Wow. Let me ask you.
You wear a bra every day, right?
Wow. Right.
If you wear a bra every day, guess what? They got bra holsters.
Wow. So let me ask you
They
this
got
question.
belly bands, what they call belly bands, a belly band holster. Now you can wear the skimpiest clothes, and you don't have to worry about that gun being exposed.
Yeah. But they should teach that stuff when they giving out guns with no license.
No, they don't give a damn about it. They're not giving. First of all, they're not giving out no guns. You're gonna buy a gun,
Well, you know
and then the store is going to get their money for that gun. They don't care what you do with it afterwards. It's up to you to go get the training. Never be afraid to invest in yourself. I tell these ladies all the time, reason why I keep my prices low is because I don't want you to argue about how you invested in yourself. I charge $25 a class.
So let me ask you something. Do you have an online class? If somebody's watching this, do they go back and do the replay and they go, "Oh, I want to take his class"? Is it only something local?
I don't have it yet because I'm a very personable person. I am not a young man. So this social media stuff is brand new to me. I want to be able to be in your space, in your face. You know why? Because I tell you to wear clothing for a reason. Because I'm going to smack the shit out you. I'm going to punch you. I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm going to show you that this is what's necessary and this is the reaction that you should be trained on. I can't do that on social media.
Wow. So if somebody's watching and you're in Philadelphia, you better look them up. How can they reach you if they want to do that? I mean, when's your next class?
I'm an independent trainer, so I can create a class anywhere I want to. The thing is this, for the firearms portion, I'm a Pennsylvania certified firearms instructor. So therefore, if it comes to guns, I have to do it in Pennsylvania, and you must be a resident or have a reciprocity agreement with a firearms, in your state. That way you can legally carry a firearm in your state if you're from a different state. But if you're a Pennsylvania resident, let's do it.
Just hit the arrow and follow Beehive and say,
that's it.
I want to get in your class.
I do classes of 5 individuals. And the reason why I keep it small is because I got a lot of information to get, and I don't need an oversaturation of people. Because when I do my senior self-defense, I do a larger class. because I don't get that in depth with the seniors. I just want them to understand that they don't have to be victims either.
Yeah, I'm
But
glad you're doing that. They
when it
need it.
comes to the ladies, I'm dealing with so many different age groups. I go from some as low as 14 years old all the way up. Now, obviously, the young ones can't carry guns, but I show them different ways to get out of strongholds.
Yes.
I show them different ways to manipulate pressure pointing, different body parts that, become available if they're being accosted, stuff like that. And a lot of the mothers, because I did it with my mothers and daughter mentor thing, a lot of the mothers appreciated it because they just didn't want their daughters, because a lot of them were in extracurricular activities and they come home late. They felt more empowered because they're not walking around without a plan now.
Well, B-Hop, it sounds like some of those courses you might have, people might travel to be in your course to get that information.
Bring it. I mean, come on. Come on. It's only $25. I charge $25 per person, right? And the one thing is that I network with a lot of companies that are willing to sponsor the cost sometimes.
Wow.
I
Now,
get businesses on my patrol.
You do more than that. What other training do you do besides that one? Because I know you do multiple trainings.
Well, let's break it down. My senior self-defense class is through an organization in Philadelphia right now.
Mm-hmm.
I contracted with them. I've been dealing with them for about 2.5, 3 years now. It's called Oak Street Health. And the one thing is they loved my program and they had me in 3 of their locations. Now, when it comes down to training, I teach all levels and disciplines of law enforcement: sexual harassment, workplace harassment, interpersonal communication, emergency preparedness, firearms, handcuffing, baton, OC, all of the things necessary that an officer would carry on their tool belt. I do the instruction on top of the core curriculum to be an officer. So outside of that, I'm also certified to teach communications, fiber optic installation, all that stuff. That was in my former life. But the reality of it is now that I'm honing in on my personal training, the mentorship and the life coaching is based on whoever has a need, contact me. I've had 3 women within the past 3.5 weeks call me with some real hardships. And by the time we got off the phone, they felt empowered, they felt good, and they've made measurable change since our conversation. Wow. And it's crazy because some of them call me back and say, you know what, B? What you said to me was spot on. Listen, I just listened to you. I had one young lady, she called me and she was going to a therapist. She said, why am I paying this therapist when almost 2 hours you gave me everything that this woman has never given me, and I've been going to her for 6 months.
Wow.
And you didn't charge me a dime.
Wow.
And we went over her journal. I showed her how to create entries in her journal. And now because she had a problem with her son. And her son is 5 years old. And unfortunately, she just overshot and overlooked the logic that was built into the situation because she was coming at it from an adult perspective. But then when I brought her back to an understanding that you're dealing with a 5-year-old, sweetheart, you cannot bring the same grown-up logic to this situation. Then she had to realize and understand, okay, I was overthinking the obvious. And it's just a matter of talking with people, showing them an understanding that you are not above the situation just because I'm a mentor. I don't come in there with a chip on my shoulder. I come in there very humble just to listen first. And I listened without saying anything. It got to a point where she was like, are you still there? Yes, I'm still here. Because I want to hear everything that is the frustrated aspect of what you're bringing out. Because how can I assist you if I did not allow you to get it out?
Wow. So how much longer will you be doing this, and what next for Brian? After this is all said and done, what next?
Well, listen, I'm doing multiple quests in my life. This Saturday, I will be on my quest to become a 32nd degree Mason. And this is another journey that I'm taking for myself to better myself. Because in the travels, my uncles set the template for me in reference to me becoming the best man that I can be. And what I'm doing now, on top of assisting other people in the quest for them to become better, I'm working on myself. And I'm working on myself with other men that embody the same things that I embody, but I'm allowing them to pour into me so I can pour into other people. And the one thing that I'm getting out of all of it is the betterment of myself is the true blessing, because now I can bless other people.
Yeah, Masons. I tell you, my dad was a Mason and a Shriner. And
And see, that's my next move. Crystal, I'm only once after this Saturday, right? I'm
yeah.
already in the initiation process to become a Shriner.
Wow.
Now, when you take on more responsibility, that it's more involvement, right? And Shrine is basically all about philanthropy. Same thing as being a Mason. But the thing is my philanthropy does not come through money. It comes through assisting people in how to become a better them. And that is what I've tasked myself to do as my payment. And I base it on sweat equity. I don't base it on financial equity.
Wow. So you're a servant. You're just a servant at heart. That's what
Until
you are.
God takes me out of here, that's what I'll do. And on my headstone, I tell my law enforcement guys, range, scope, and jurisdiction. Anybody that knows me in my law enforcement, range, scope, and jurisdiction. Range is the depth of your authority. Scope is your job description. Jurisdiction is the location in which your range and your scope has the maximum value. And what I teach them through life, when you understand your depth of your authority as a man, that will give you an understanding of how you need to walk through life. Then scope. People always want to give a man a job description. You hear women always, you ain't no real man. You ain't no real man. Well, first of all, let's understand one thing. If you were born a female and you are of a female species, you will never have a definition for me, because you cannot live up to the definition that you give out. If you're a woman, you're going to have a definition of being a woman. That's your range, scope, and jurisdiction. So when these women tell me about who's a real man and who's not a real man, I have to chalk it up as you just want to have talking points. Because what it comes down to is this. I'm not saying that a woman can't have an opinion,
Right.
but what I'm saying is this. Telling me what a real man is, until you pull up your pants the same way and have to deal with life with the same options, hone in on your skills of being a woman. That's a fulfilling situation. Stop trying to blend or come over to my side, because trust and believe, I don't have the same options as you. Case in point, if me and you, Crystal, and me broke down on the same dark road, trust and believe you will get help before me. And that's one thing that a lot of women don't realize, is that when a man falls on hard times, unless he has a good and dynamic network, or he has a good and dynamic woman in his network, he's not going to get the help necessary to get back on his feet for any real length of time. But when a woman is down, a woman sits on what every man wants. So whether he wants you for entertainment or otherwise, he's going to be more willing to fund your operation to get what he wants. He might not want you, but he wants something from you. It's a lot different. There ain't a bunch of sugar mamas running around trying to give me some money just for a little nookie. So the reality of it is, for me, I got to dig in the trenches in order to keep myself afloat. Wow. And it's not a competition. We should never be competing with each other. We should just recognize the differences and know that we both have hard times. When we're going through hard times, it's about empathy, not sympathy.
Yeah, people need to have a little bit more empathy, and people need to recognize that they could fall on the same hard time. Let me ask you this. When you were young, did you want to be in law enforcement? Is that what you saw yourself doing?
For the first 10 years of my life, I graduated high school and went straight into the Bell Academy. I went into Bell Academy and I worked there, and I got promoted. After 2 years, I got promoted as the first manager in the telephone company in Philadelphia area as the youngest manager ever to hold the position.
Wow.
My
It's
first
always
cousin,
been focused. Always been focused.
I mean, I was focused when I was in high school. That's why I got kicked out of religion class. See, the thing is this. My cousin, he was the first black male operator in the telephone company. So, yes, a lot of people in my family were very ambitious and first up. My uncle did 43 years and 8 months in the Army.
Wow.
When he retired at Fort Meade, they gave him a parade because he was the oldest enlisted man that had rose to the rank of CW5 in the history of the Army. His name is Charles Colton Cook. Look it up.
Wow.
So, and he was the one that advised me about masonry and what to do with it before he passed away, because he saw something in me that I didn't see at the time. And he confided in me prior to his death that you're gonna do the things that we did, but he told me, he said, I want you to be better than us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So his travels was, he became a master mason. Then he got additional knowledge within masonry. Then he became a grand trustee. And if anybody understands what a grand trustee is, it's one of the people that is on the level that you can open up lodges and create lodges. And he was doing that in the Virgin Islands. He was doing it in all the islands, St. Kitts, St. Bart's. He was opening up lodges prior to him getting sick. And he opened up a Eastern Star Lodge in my mother's name over there.
Nice.
So my quest is, when I get to a certain level of attainment, I'm taking my daughter and we're going to go to that lodge in memoriam to my mother.
Oh, that's going to be real nice.
Listen, I want my daughter to travel. I want my daughter to become an Eastern Star because I know that she has a lot to offer in reference to that order, because her grandmother was in Martha chapter.
Yeah, that's what I got to look into. A lot of people try to tell me to become an Eastern Star because of the stuff I do in the community and everything. I never educated myself on it or even looked into it. My dad kept that like a secret from us.
Crystal, you are an Eastern Star already. You are already an Eastern Star. The only difference is you didn't go through an initiation process yet, but you are an Eastern Star through and through. You know why? Because you have the moral fabric. You have the conscious understanding of how to become and how to stay the best woman that you can be. And that's all it's about. It's about networking with other women that can keep you sharp and always give you an encouraging aspect to stay where you are and get better. You're already Eastern Star. You don't have to go searching anything. All you have to do is ask one to be one. Just ask one. Just say, hey, sweetheart, how you doing? I would like, my father, he was a master mason. I would like to inquire about, becoming an Eastern Star. And these are my qualifications. They're going to send out a team to, give you an interview. They're going to vote on you. They're going to bring you in. You're going to go through the initiation. You're going to do the necessary learning that you need to learn. And then you're going to become it. And you know what? The value that you're going to bring to that is going to be so dynamic, you're not even going to be able to recognize yourself at one point, because it's going to elevate you, because that sisterhood is worldwide.
Yeah, they've been trying to get me for a minute. A couple of people been trying to tell me, a couple of Masons, a couple of people, they like, Crystal, man. I said, look, I never even thought about it, you know what I'm saying? But I think because I'm looking at retiring next year and doing a lot more traveling, doing some more stuff, I may look into it then, because I can focus. I'm a caregiver right now for my sister, so I focus a lot on that. That takes a lot of time. Small grandchildren, but I definitely want to look into it because I'm a servant as well, and I love to give back.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
Yeah. So let me ask you this in conclusion. I appreciate you coming through, and I just appreciate you. You always bring value out here. Like you said, a lot of times out here, it's a lot of different type of lives. There's a lot of things going on. But I knew that you had more to offer, you know. And I thank you for sharing everything that you did about the self-defense, about all the different perspectives that you shared out here. Um, Anything that you want to tell the people about you that you have coming up that you might want to offer to individuals? I know you talked about the class, the people in Philly, and I know you said you're new out here, but if there's anything that I don't know if you wrote a book and you're selling books, you got some products or anything that you want people to know about you that I haven't asked you.
No, you know what? I always get cussed out by my partners because they're like, yo, when you going to write a book? I'm an orator. Unfortunately, I know very little about even what goes into a book. I know how to read a book from front cover to back cover. But in terms of what input I would have in a book, I would just have to just start talking and somebody would have to narrate it for me. But the reality for me is this. My whole premise for existence at this point is to, one, be a vessel for people that have hardships of understanding life's mystery and give them the necessary tools. It's like playing Clue. You know, the good people at Clue is the one that can do the process of deduction. And when you understand the process of deduction, then you'll be a great Clue player. Because when I used to play Clue, very few people could beat me at Clue. You know why? Because it's just paying attention to what was said and what was denied, what was out there and what wasn't. And life doesn't have to be as mysterious as we make it if you train yourself to be in problem-solving mode. Because the problem is going to exist no matter whether you get hype about it or not. So I used to tell my daughter, sweetie, come down off that emotional high first.
Yeah.
And then we can start talking about some real solutions, some real end game stuff. But if you keep getting stuck on that, you're going to be stuck on the problem longer than you need to.
And people get stuck on the fear of the conflict. You know, like they want life to be so comfortable and the bed of roses, and they don't understand you're going to have some uncomfortable moments. You're going to have some challenges. You're going to face some things, but that's how you're going to get stronger. And that's what's going to make you, a better person and better character.
Life is lived in situations. Just understand that once you solve one situation, God is going to throw another curve your way. Yep. Might not be immediate, but there's an understanding that a test and a testimony has to be based on where the work is. If I give you a test and you overcome it, then you have a testimony because now you can tell somebody how you overcame it. But if I gave you a test and you still taking the test, you can't add value to somebody else's on how you got over because you're still dealing with it.
And that's why some people wonder why they keep having the same thing. They can't get out of it. They're like, why I keep dealing with this? Because you haven't mastered it yet. Like, why this keep happening to me? Because you haven't figured it out yet. And they don't understand that. Like, you're going to keep having that same problem until you, like your daughter said a key word, acknowledge it and deal with it and head on. And she seemed to be very wise. You did an excellent job for her.
Thank you.
I can see it.
The thing is this. She is an excellent job within herself.
Because she had to listen. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. All I did was navigate the basics. She took the basics and expounded on it. My daughter can stand in front of a room. She may not like it, but she can stand in front of a room and do a motivational speaking like no other, just based on her own personality. And the one thing of it is this. When we empower so much love into our children, to the degree, now mind you, this is a young lady that did not have her mother growing up. Now, if you talk to her and have a conversation with her about her mother, you would hear a different type of truth.
So I commend you because I heard you talk about that. So you literally raised her whole life by yourself. So
ever since she was 6 months old.
Yeah, man.
I was 20. Listen, me and her mom, we were living together. We were in a relationship, living at our relationship. 6 months after my child was born, her mother decided she wanted to entertain one of her past loves that had just gotten out of jail. Well, I'm not going to compete with nobody. Go ahead, do what you got to do. But you're going to leave my baby with me. And that's what she did. She left my baby. I went to court, got full custody of my child, and I lived happily ever after. I never asked her for anything. I never asked her for child support. I never did none of the above. I couldn't get WIC. I couldn't get none of that stuff because it says women, infant, and child, right?
Ooh.
I'm not a woman, right?
Ooh.
So therefore, I was blocked. I was blocked from getting anything, but I didn't need it. You know why? Because I always funded my own operation.
That's powerful, though, because I'm surprised you didn't advocate for the men and make some of that stuff available, because they always say it's so hard for the brothers out here that are trying to raise children. They can't get some of the stuff that women get. I'm really surprised that you did not. You are the type of person that I know you could have brought about a change. If you would have wanted to, you would have made some things happen. But in 91, you were self-sufficient. You didn't need it. But if you were that person,
no. In 91, I was about 25, 26 years old. I did not have the wisdom that I have now. I had the tenacity and the grit. I had to know how to make a dollar and to keep myself in survival mode. But I did not have the finesse, nor did I have the overwhelming knowledge that I have to overcome a system that's that deep.
Yeah.
I could do it now. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because, WIC should be abolished in terms of the name. Yes. Because you have single fathers out here that need the same nutrition for their child. I can't breastfeed no child.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So I got to rely on outside sources in order to nourish my child. But the thing is this. In the course of my daughter's life, I always looked at how could I utilize my creativity to be the best at what I'm tasked to do.
And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Like, when we go up to that dead-end street, what do? When you turn around, you have to have a plan. And a lot of people get stuck when they get to the dead-end street. I mean, it's sad. A lot of people get stuck, and they're afraid of the challenge, and they don't know how to shift.
But that's the nuance. That's the nuance of life. Crystal, me and you wouldn't exist if those people didn't get stuck. So understand one thing about people getting stuck. That gives us a chance to come in and give them processes and understanding of how to get unstuck.
Right. Right.
So I don't look at the balance of things as anything in reference to an opportunity for a teachable moment.
And everything. My children say that about me. Mommy, why you gotta make everything a teachable? My children, they be like, everything, Mommy, everything. I was always doing that. They were like, "Really, Mom?" But
that's because I don't want society to teach you something that was well within my control.
And they don't get it. They don't get it. Like, well, the funny thing is now they do get it. Like, as they grow, like my youngest is 25 now, and she calls me up sometime, and she just be telling me stuff, and I just be laughing. And she be like, "Man, Ma, I tell you what, girl. You might not think I was listening, but I was listening." So when I asked her how she handled the situation, she said, "Oh, I did this, I did that. I heard you. I saw you." I was like, okay.
Well, see, what it is this. We always feel as though they're not listening, but it's not time for them to show it. Like for my daughter, I didn't worry about whether she heard me because I knew she heard me. I just waiting for her to be in a situation where she could take that word of wisdom and use it to her advantage.
That's it.
And that's when you know that they truly listen to you.
Yes.
Because if the situation doesn't arise, how would they even know what to do? You got to wait for the situation to arise. That's why having unrealistic expectation is the worst that we can do for our children.
Yes, Lord. Well, look, B-Hop, I'm going to get out of here. I thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I want you to know that this live is going to be shared in many other places, too, because I share my stuff outside of IG. I have an executive producer that puts stuff out there. And keep doing what you're doing. And congratulations about what you have on this weekend. I know that's going to be nice. That's going to be nice. And
it's a major milestone for me in my travel because it just shows the willingness to want to be invested in what you say you want to do.
Yeah,
So,
and you knew what you wanted to do, and the fact that you stayed on the course, and may your uncle rest in peace. I know he's smiling down on you and knowing that you
man,
did this.
you know what? It's crazy because every time I think about him, a tear comes to my eye because it's like when I tell my other brothers, when I tell them what my quest is and I show them pictures of them, they say, bro, you got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah,
And the
man.
one thing, yeah, and the one thing that they've been telling me is like, yo, them shoes is getting smaller, brother. Them shoes is getting smaller because you filling them nicely. And it's
Yeah.
good to hear from other brothers that have taken those lessons prior to you. I got guys that I never knew that came to me and said, I've been watching you from a distance, brother, and we enjoy that. They want me to be a part of the recital team. That means that what it is I become an actor for different prospects or different aspects of the learning model
Okay.
because we act out different scenes from either biblical or something like that. And they're saying, yo, bro, you got to be a part of this. And it
Yeah.
makes me feel good because it's one of those things where if other people can see any value in you, it's not based on ego.
That's right.
Because I
That's right.
believe in ego is edging God out.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, for me, it's just a humble experience. And I thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah. And I want
And,
telling people be hot 410, be hot 410. If you are a woman or you know somebody in the Philadelphia area that needs some self-defense, or if you are willing to travel, then go get that if you know you need it. And I mean, if you need the firearms and you have a firearm and you have the reciprocal license where you can go from state to state, look him up because you heard what he said he gonna do, man. Ladies, you heard. I mean, I heard a thorough class that you cover some stuff like you heard the lady said that she had therapy and she didn't get what he gave her. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you know somebody really going through some stuff, battling with some stuff, share this with them because you heard it and they didn't. So don't keep it. You know what I'm saying? Don't keep it. If you know someone who needs this information, do not hold back. Share this video with them. You'll be
that's
doing a
right. Because
disservice.
I have a network of other firearms instructors because it ain't based on just my word. I try to put people in front of different aspects of learning because I never think that I have the end all be all.
Hmm.
So
And I mean,
it's just
I
a
heard
matter.
some stuff today. You told me some stuff. Bra holsters, garter holsters. Come on, y'all. Come on now.
Belly
Like
band
you
holsters.
said, a woman could wear a dress and you won't even see the gun on her. So y'all, step your game up and protect yourself. And you heard him talk about not taking all the unnecessary stuff with you. Don't carry things that you don't need and how to keep things. So these are things that you need to know as a woman. I want to thank you, B Hop, again. You have a blessed one. Enjoy this weekend. I will be seeing you again on these IG streets, up in these lives,
Yes, yes,
definitely.
most
And you
definitely.
have a good one. I thank you. I thank you so much. Tell your daughter again, thank you. I'm
Okay.
so blessed and I was thankful that she came in.
She just texted me. She need me to take my grandbaby to school tomorrow.
Well, go. Let me let you go off so you can go take her to school. Have a blessed one, guys. What we got coming up Tuesday. Man, I got a young brother. He's 30 years old. He's an author. He's so articulate, man. He's in the West Coast, and he wrote a book, The Beauty of Being Wrong. The Beauty of Being Wrong. And when he told me what that was about, you don't want to miss this 12 noon Eastern and 9 o'clock Pacific. All right, guys. See you later.
I'm gonna listen in because he might be able to give me some pointers
The
on how to write a
beauty.
book.
The beauty. Oh, I can tell you that, B-Hop. I got I've written a couple. I got a couple on Amazon. I can tell you that. You need to do
Oh
that.
yeah, well then let's
You need
talk
to do
because
that. You need to do that.
I have a class that I created. It's called Agent in the Law, and it's for us state agents to understand what our range scope jurisdiction is and who we are under the law. Because a lot of people get security and law enforcement blended and mixed up.
Well,
And I
talk
wrote a
into your
course.
device. Just talk into your device. Stop talking into your device. All that stuff. You said you don't like to write it down. Put that stuff in there, chapter 1. When you put it in there, write it out. And then you're going to have to get somebody to go ahead and, but yeah, we need to talk. But you need to start putting that stuff in your device. Get you a device
I know.
just for that.
You
Just
sound
for
like
that.
my partners. Don't
You
beat
don't
me
have
up.
an iPad or something, you really need to do that. Get it out of you because you have too much information in you that you need to go ahead and do that. All right. Have a blessed one,
Yeah.
y'all. Good night.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one. Thank you so much.